Hey internet friends, this is just kind of a hangout video where I'm going to tell you my predictions for 2023 while I create a bingo card for this year here in Photoshop. We're making it together today. Some of my predictions were submitted by internet friends in my Discord, which is it's like my Patreon channel member Discord, but I agreed with some of their predictions, added them to my list, so thank you very much for those of you who contributed. We're just going to hop right in here. I have a blank card ready. Let me know what your predictions are. Let me know if you agree with mine or if you think I got it wrong or whatever. We're just customizing as we go before we begin. We've got to get our font on there. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. Free transform. We got to make this a little smaller. That's good enough for me for now. That's fine. It's fine. It's more about what is on the bingo card. We actually have to do a free space. I'm not going in any particular order of importance, but here's my first prediction. Ellen DeGeneres imprisoned. There's something about this lady that is a ticking time bomb to me. Maybe it's all of her weird connections, how no one has ever had a pleasant experience with her. Maybe it's how she's conducted the only interview with Las Vegas security guard Jesus Campos and his handler, and then he just totally disappeared. I don't know. But come back in a year to see if I was correct, okay? Student loan debt not forgiven. No, not. As in no. The Supreme Court is going to rule against it. That's our next one. You know, Biden had all these. You remember last year when Biden announced his plan to cancel up to, $20,000 in student loan debt for millions of Americans? Well, it has to go through the Supreme Court. And I predict the whole forgiveness plan will get struck down. It was just a tool for midterms. These aren't supposed to be funny, but some of them are. And next on my list, Sam Britton, escalation of crimes. And if you're unfamiliar, Sam Britton is a nuclear engineer and LGBTQ XYZ activist who worked under the Biden administration, but he left the position after being charged with luggage theft twice. And here's the thing, I feel like luggage theft is a gateway crime to more serious crimes, like how serial killers will go abuse animals to put off murdering their own family. And I just predict the escalation of crimes from this guy because he's been publicly humiliated, which you know is very mentally taxing, but he's probably already mentally ill to begin with and has isolated himself and ran out of women's clothes to wear. But we wish him recovery, obviously, but realistically, luggage was only the beginning. Next on the list, no more Pledge of Allegiance. Is that how you spell allegiance? I hope so. Because I think this. I predict there will be no more Pledge of Allegiance in school starting maybe this year. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this one really because I don't like public school, number one, and I don't like spell magic repetition, number two, and number three, I don't like manipulation of children when they're too young to understand what they're saying. But I think they're going to do away with the Pledge of Allegiance in school because the new culture that's circulating is this whole belief that patriotism is white supremacy. Moving on, King Charles dies. Yes, I know he just became the king, but those sausage fingers, they aren't good news. They're very ominous. And if King Charles dies, the order of succession dictates that Prince William is next in line for the throne. Moving on, second line, Kanye or Ye. There's a distinction. Converts to Judaism. I know this seems like an out of left field prediction, but hear me out. When I saw his daughter wearing the Star of David with the cross inside the cube, that's when I knew. You know, I like Kanye, obviously. can't tell me nothing has been on my workout playlist for the better part of 10 years. I know every word. I think he was trying to reveal the cloning industry in his music video Famous with all the clones in bed together. But ultimately, while I like Kanye, I don't trust this Ye character he's created to take all the heat. Ye takes all the hits. He gives us the performances as Ye. He wears the Balenciaga as Ye. He says all these crazy things as Ye. Do I agree with some of them? Sure. But I think Ye will convert to Judaism this year. I don't like the people that Ye surrounds himself with, especially not Milo Yiannopoulos. I know he's been fired, but I didn't like it. And I think he'll do a total 180 and convert to Judaism. Will it be a strategic move, though? Not sure. Another one that would come out of left field and totally shock people, especially the quote-unquote truther community, would be the charges dropped against Julian Assange. Assange is currently fighting extradition to the U.S. on charges related to the publication of thousands of classified documents. But what if Biden drops those charges? What then? That's all I have to say. What if that happened this year? I think there's a chance. I really do. I'm seeing all these articles saying that if Biden pursues these charges against Assange, it would set a dangerous precedent towards journalists and journalism. So who knows? If I remember correctly, this was submitted by someone in my Patreon Discord. And I liked this one because I don't think our president has been able to articulate a full sentence since he stepped in office. And wouldn't it be interesting if he was removed from office, only to be, obviously, the next in succession would be Kamala Harris, and she can't get through a sentence without laughing. So how funny would that be? It would be awful all the way around, but I can see it happening. I really can. Let's do this one next. Our favorite Nazi, George Soros, dies. That one needs to be bigger. I might go 13. There we go. Prediction, George Soros dead. Yes, after his 50th heart, he's harvested from the bodies of young, healthy people. I believe George might die this year, replaced by his son, Alexander Soros, who is, I'm reading here so I get it right, Deputy Chair of the Open Society Foundations and one of the World Economic Forum's young global leaders and board member of the Jewish Funds for Justice. I've been watching this Alexander Soros character for several years now. He's more public and in your face and a little more hip than his dad, but a little more radical and aggressive and perhaps dismantling nations and relations between groups of people. Allegedly, okay? Fact checkers, allegedly, hypothetically, most likely a spot-on statement. We're going to go American CBDC introduction. You're discovering now that Grace does not type with any amount of accuracy. But we've spoken about CBDC and particularly the American introduction of CBDC in previous videos. What did I say about it in my notes? I'm saying it's already happened. It's obviously already happening. The slow rollout, the testing phase where you're getting people to ask for it because the private markets that exist right now in cryptocurrency are so tumultuous, and there's like a lot of room for FTX controlled demolition of this whole exchange, wherein people lost billions of dollars. But the rollout is really happening worldwide with this CBDC, and it's part of the social credit score system. And I think they're going to officially do it in America this year. My next one is really a wild card, but I've been thinking about it ever since this happened. Epstein revealed alive. Epstein revealed alive. How wild would that be? But you would believe it. I would believe it. I wouldn't even be surprised. There might be sightings. There might be rumors. There already are. Then it will be confirmed that Epstein is indeed alive. We've joked about him sipping drinks on the beaches in Israel. Yeah, probably. But there was no footage from his jail cell when he unalived himself, allegedly. and I'm not convinced he's dead at all. So I think this is a great possibility. Some of you are going to follow me on the next one. Some of you are going to be like, who is this person? Jeffree Star becomes conservative politician. We're going to change that to 11. We need a smaller font, and we need to center it in the box. I don't talk about Jeffree Star on this channel, but hear me out on this one. Jeffree Star, who single-handedly dominated the makeup side of YouTube as a man. And then suddenly men replaced all the women on the beauty community side of YouTube, which was totally funny and I'm sure totally organic too. Anyway, Jeffree Star moved from LA to Wyoming, and now he has a yak farm where he supplies local businesses with yak burgers. And he's all about supporting small businesses now and supporting the community. And in this documentary I watched by Shane Dawson, where he goes out to Wyoming to look at Jeffree Star's yak farm, Jeffree is in his car and he's waving around his weapons and his guns, and he's got like a silencer on one of his pistols, and being a really big proponent of self-defense, I would say, which I am too. This is not a critique, okay? But I saw him on Logan Paul's podcast saying that pronouns are stupid, and just the other day he said the Illuminati is after him. Jeffree Star is like a real-life, hedonistic, gay-ish, androgynous John Dutton, and this is his Rainbow Yellowstone that we're all watching. I think just like the plot of Yellowstone, just like John Dutton, I think Jeffree Star is going to start in politics and run for some kind of office in Wyoming, and he's going to announce it in 2023. Climate lockdowns. We've already seen the slow rollout of this in places like India and China, where they just shut down society for a few days, much like the COVID lockdowns we saw in 2020. I believe we already have one world government and it works in unison, and they all promote this message that humanity is toxic to the earth, to nature. And that's their whole message behind climate change. But I guarantee that when they do the climate lockdowns, much like when they did the COVID lockdowns, the billion-dollar corporations and their CEOs, they'll remain open, doing business, flying around in their jets, sailing around in their yachts, enforcing their monopoly as they're able to continue to conduct business while normies are not and they become poorer. I've already seen this discussed on Twitter, and I really believe things can be memed into reality. I think that is actually like a occult concept of egregor and mimetic warfare. But Fauci Arrested is another prediction I have on here. This is making me seem like kind of an optimist, and I love it. I'm not really an optimist on my channel, but Fauci Arrested, yes, I'm putting it out there. I think Fauci could take some heat this year, as he should. Remember back in 2017 when he predicted that Trump would have to deal with a pandemic? Then there's all that funding business in Wuhan and all their labs, and well, I could go on and on. How delicious would it be to see that twerp in prison? Let's go XRP settlement. If you follow cryptocurrency news, the legal battle between Ripple Labs and the United States Securities and Exchange Commission is seemingly coming to an end at the end of this year, and I believe it will end. I believe the whole thing will end in a settlement. The SEC accused Ripple of misleading investors by failing to register Ripple's XRP, one of the world's top 10 largest crypto tokens, as a security. I think they'll settle. What do you think? I'm putting on here Putin dies. Because wouldn't that just throw a total wrench in the whole Ukrainian war outcome? We gotta go 12 on corruption. Okay. Needs a little centering. January 6th, media corruption revealed, probably Twitter files style. You know my opinion on January 6th. My opinion was that it was boring, very tame, and blown out of proportion by the media. I think it was controlled In just about every way. I think you need to look very closely at whoever was there, whoever was involved, whoever promoted it, and I believe they used January 6th as a tool to punish conservatives and prevent them from doing anything worse, like actually having a revolt. And I believe that the media and the Biden administration colluded together to produce this psyop. Next, Dylan Mulvaney. Detransitions? Oh, that just won't do. It's touching a black line. Hold on. That's better. That's better. Okay. Dylan Mulvaney is a TikToker who started his series Days of Girlhood, where he dresses up as a girl and documents what it's like to live as a girl in daily videos. If you haven't seen these or seen Dylan up on your screen talking about being a girl and giggling about how cute and awesome and wonderful girlhood is, then consider yourself lucky because they probably play his TikToks on loop at Gitmo. Dylan was invited to the Biden White House, of course, was picked up by major brands like Ulta, and has recently gone through facial reconstruction surgery to look more like a girl. This is like blackface, but for women, and I predict that Dylan will detransition soon because it's all a show and you have to keep the people entertained. That's showbiz, baby. Rebuilding the Georgia Guidestones. Remember how the Georgia Guidestones were allegedly blown up this year and they had all the footage of that person fleeing the scene and they blamed conspiracy theorists for terroristic acts and, well, we really haven't heard much of an update on that, have we? I believe they'll rebuild the Georgia Guidestones under the banner of Elberton, Georgia public city property, like it won't be a private person doing it this time, and they're going to use the excuse that the Guidestones were a huge source of tourism for the town. Therefore, they need to rebuild them so they can generate revenue for the town. But I think some of the guides set in stone will be a little different since the original stones were erected back in the 1980s. But I think it'll happen. I think they're going to rebuild them this year, y'all. We're on our final line here, y'all. Next up, massive blackouts. We've covered this in a previous video about how they're framing anti-government, anti-LGBTQ, XYZ, anti-vax conspiracy theorists, aka Christians, for attacking power substations. So many attacks have happened within the last couple of months, leaving a bunch of people without power. But I think our whole system is so incredibly fragile, more so than we actually realize. And they'd rather blame a group than themselves for not investing taxpayer money into our infrastructure. And instead, they sent our taxpayer dollars to foreign nations, in foreign nations' wars, and into their own pockets. Even in Georgia, when it got down below 10 degrees last week, it didn't even snow, rain, nothing. It was just a little windy, and power was out on one of the most critical days. People needed heat, and their pipes busted. Their pipes busted? Their pipes burst? Whichever is most correct grammatically. I think Elon Musk, with his access to all these confidential emails sent via DM over Twitter, I think he's going to reveal that the 2020 election was rigged, but somehow in all of this, we're going to bury the fact that all elections are rigged and everyone will keep voting for the 2024 election. So we're just going to ignore it. It's going to be revealed, but nothing will happen. That's my prediction. The Greater Depression. Because we've already had the Great Depression, I predict that we're entering the Greater Depression, but perhaps not the Greatest Depression. Mainstream economists are saying that the staggering amounts of debt held by individuals, businesses, and the government will soon lead to the mother of all economic crises. And I thought Ron Paul did a pretty good write-up on this on his website saying, quote, "The crisis will lead to social unrest and violence, as well as increased popularity of authoritarian movements on both the left and the right. This will lead to government crackdowns on civil liberties and increased government control of our economy. The only bright spot is that the crisis will also fuel interest in the ideas of liberty and could even help bring out a return to limited constitutional government, free markets, and individual liberty, and a foreign policy of peaceful trade with all." End quote. Second and last one, a new drug goes mainstream to detox from COVID jab. The terms died suddenly and myocarditis are now mainstream. And now, of course, there's this growing concern over the safety of the potion that millions of Americans were forced, coerced, and manipulated to get. I believe a new pharmaceutical, traditional pharmakia problem reaction solution Hegelian dialectic move, they'll introduce a detox drug that will hit the market this year. We're short one prediction. How did I do this? We're short one prediction. So now I just got to make up something on the spot. But my ideas are already exhausted on this one. Oh, I was looking at my list and I just skipped one. Bitcoin goes to 100K. Now, I don't really care about Bitcoin, but I watch it, I believe the best investment strategy is to diversify your portfolio. But I believe that the U.S. petrodollar will go to zero before Bitcoin does. So I'm going optimistic on this one. Bitcoin hits 100K, but everything is exponentially more expensive. So 100K doesn't go quite as far as it used to. But that's all I have, internet friends. What do you think about my predictions? If you're watching this a year in the future, how many did we get correct? Which ones did we totally miss? And what would you add to the list? And on a serious note, thank you so much to everyone who supported me, not only this year, but this entire time. If you've even taken 30 seconds out of your day and your entire life to listen to my channel, thank you. Thank you, seriously. I am so thankful and grateful for all of you always. I hope you have a fantastic year. I hope you are healthy, happy, and great things will happen to you and your families. Thank you. Happy New Year. Bye.